Hey there, Heartful Parents. I am joining you today for a bonus episode that is a little different than some of the bonus episodes that I've done in the past. And I'm joining you today from a space of hard. I don't know any other way to put it. I guess I'm joining you from a place of heaviness because the world has felt really heavy to me this week. And I'm going to do my best to share some thoughts with you to support you on your parenting journey in this challenging time. But I want to start with a caveat. And the first thing that I need to start with is an acknowledgement that today's episode is not for everyone. You know, look, we come from a really diverse and varied country, and this episode is focused on those listeners who live in the US or have followed and care about the US election. But it's specifically for those of us who are feeling really heavy and scared and sad and who are grieving this week about the results of that election. If that's not you, that's okay. If you are excited about the election, this may not be the right episode for you. I am still eager to support you on your parenting journey and in keeping your kids safe because I believe every child has a right to grow up both brain and body safe. But this particular episode is not for those who are celebrating this week. This particular episode is for those who are in grief and shock, or even not shock, but still grief. I generally keep things pretty neutral, but I will share with you that I am in that grief with you. And the election has felt, or the results of the election have felt really hard for me to grasp, you know. And I wrote something recently that I feel like I want to share with you. And I wrote this actually before the election, and I just think it will, it gives some perspective on sort of where I come down on all of this. And, those of you who have listened for any length of time know that I'm a lawyer. In order to become a lawyer, I had to take an oath to defend and support the Constitution. I also am a parent coach. And I didn't have to take an oath to become that, but I do follow a code of ethics and my own personal oath, if you will, is to defend and support the idea that every child deserves to grow up brain and body safe. And so before the election, I shared a few thoughts on my personal Facebook page, and I concluded it with this. As a lawyer, I am voting for our Constitution. As a former prosecutor, I am voting for the rule of law. As a parent coach, I am voting for all our children. And as the mother of two amazing daughters, one of whom is LGBTQ, I am voting for my girls. And as all of these things, and as a woman, I am holding my breath and trying to steady my heart as I brace for next week. And I don't think I realized when I wrote that just how much I would be bracing this week for all that is to come. But as we all know, if we are parenting, as we process our own thoughts and feelings and emotions around this election and the 4 years and beyond to come, we're also having to parent. And I watched the election results come in with my daughters. My 15-year-old gets it. My 7-year-old was like, can we watch The Amazing Race? That's more interesting. I was like, I hear you, girl. But I am in a place now where I have to explain to my girls what has happened and why there isn't a woman who will be our next president. A capable, competent, intelligent, educated woman. And that's a really tall order. And I've been hearing from other parents, the question is reverberating among parents. How do I talk to my kids about this? How do I reassure them that it's going to be okay when it doesn't feel like it's going to be okay? Or we don't know that it's going to be okay. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you today, just sharing with you my own thoughts around that and sharing with you thoughts that I've gathered over the last few days from other parents who are grappling with this same question. Because I think it's just so important that we share what we're really feeling and what we're really thinking, but also that we provide some sense of a way forward and some sense of hope for our kids and for ourselves. You know, kids have a need, and this comes from Dr. Dan Siegel, to feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure. And we need to be showing up as parents right now in a place of soothing them and providing them with security, right? Helping them feel safe when they might not feel safe. And I was so heartbroken. I'm in a number of different Facebook groups for lawyers. And I was so heartbroken when one of my fellow law moms, as we call ourselves, posted her own grief at seeing, doing it, was checking on her child's device, as I recommend doing, and saw that the most recent Google search for her LGBTQ kid was what happens to LGBTQ kids if Trump is elected. That is such a heavy load as a child to share, to carry. And of course, this mom was just so distraught at not having a good answer for her child. And I don't have perfect answers, but I think we do need to stand in a place of power. We need to grieve. We need to give ourselves space to grieve. And then we need to decide that it's time to get to work, because the world that is about to be presented to our children isn't the world that we want for them. And the only way that we can make that world better is if we work with them to change what we want for them, right? Or rather, to change what we are giving them. And so we start with some words, and then we need to start with some action. So I want to read to you the thoughts of some other parents about this. I can't take credit for all of these words. And I'm going to try to read these to you without crying. I have shed tears this week. I have shed tears. But here are some words that I think could give you some ideas of how to speak to your children. Now, obviously, it depends on whether you have a teen or a younger kiddo. And if we do have younger kiddos, I think we want to simplify it as much as we can and say, look, there are the beautiful thing about our country, and these are my words off the cuff, frankly, so don't expect them to be particularly eloquent, but the beautiful thing about our country and about the idea of America is that we can provide space for different viewpoints and different voices, and that we can welcome those in while recognizing that we are more alike than different. And I think Kamala said that in her concession speech, right? We are at the core more alike than we are different. We all want good things for our kids, right? Those might be different, but we at the core all want good things for our kids. And so we can say to our younger children, we live in this place that has great promise, and there's great responsibility, right? That comes with that promise. And we just had an election, which is a chance for one side to say, these are my ideas, and the other side to say, these are my ideas. And for us as people to decide which ideas we like better. And in this particular contest, our ideas didn't win. But that doesn't mean they're not the right ideas, and that doesn't mean they won't win in the long term. And Kiddo, your job as you grow up and my job as you grow up is to keep fighting for what we know is right. Right. And I think we can leave it there with our younger children. I really do. But here's some words with our older kiddos that we might choose to share. So the first comes from author Rebecca Solnit. And she writes, they want you to feel powerless and to surrender and to let them trample, and you are not going to let them. You are not giving up, and neither am I. The fact that we cannot save everything does not mean that we cannot save anything. And everything we can save is worth saving. You may need time to grieve or scream or take time off, but you have a role no matter what. And right now, good friends and good principles are worth gathering in. Remember what you love. Remember what loves you. Remember in this tide of hate what love is. The pain you feel is because of what you love. The Wobblies used to say, don't mourn, organize. But you can do both at once. And you don't have to organize right away in this moment of furious mourning. You can be heartbroken or furious or both at once. You can scream in your car or on a cliff. You can also get up tomorrow and water the flower pots and call someone who's upset and check your equipment for going forward. A lot of us are going to come under direct attack, and a lot of us are going to resist by building solidarity and sanctuary. Gather up your resources, the metaphysical ones that are heart and soul and care, as well as the practical ones. People kept the faith in the dictatorships of South America in the 1970s and 1980s, and in the East Bloc countries and the USSR. Women are protesting right now in Iran, and people there are writing poetry. There is no alternative to persevering, and that does not require you to feel good. You can keep walking whether it's sunny or raining. Take care of yourself, and remember that taking care of something else is an important part of taking care of yourself, because you are interwoven with the 10 trillion things in this single garment of destiny that has been strained and torn, but is still being woven and mended and washed. And I think that's, now these are my words, I think that's an incredible way to think about this. So eloquently said, far better than I ever could. I want to share some other words. And these come from my friend, a new friend, if I will say so, Suzanne Gillis. And I met Suzanne through my good friend Amy Lang. And I'm so honored that Suzanne has given me permission to share her words here. And this is what she says. And this is what she wrote to her daughter, who is a freshman in college. She wrote, I'm sick about the election. I barely slept last night, and it feels like an impossible reality. But here are a couple of things that are helping me that I will share with you. 1, half of the country is very unhappy with this result, and many powerful and smart people will galvanize. There may not be an all-out revolution, but there will be revolutionary acts. We can join this movement. We will. You are surrounded by these people. 2, love is not leaving the world. It hasn't gone anywhere. Fill yourself up with it. Drink it in, share it back, let it strengthen you. You are so loved and you love so well. 3, let yourself feel all the feelings that come up. They are yours to feel and let pass through you. Try not to let yourself get locked into thoughts or anticipatory dread. 4, be gentle with yourself. Get out of bed, feed yourself. Take it 1 hour at a time and get outside. And 5, feel me hugging you because I am so proud to be your mom. Okay, those were Suzanne's words, and I think they are so beautiful in their simplicity and the reminder that we have power to engage in revolutionary acts and to be gentle with ourselves. Okay, the final words from someone that I want to share with you come from Dan Rather's daughter, Robin. And I think they round out this trio of wisdom that I'd like to share with you today. This is what she writes. We can do hard things. Again, get up, shake it off. Don't panic or isolate. Take care of the young ones who got their hopes up. Encourage their dreams. Lean into your trusted political and social networks and plan how to connect with other adjacent groups quickly and make plans. Organize more deeply than you think we can. Resistance starts now. We know how to do it. We've done it before. Visualize our getting through this in the most beautiful and intact way. Please, 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 just do not give up. We can love and protect each other through this. We have to. If it sounds like I'm getting a little emotional, I am getting a little emotional. This is a week for emotion. This is a week to let those emotions flow and to run through us. And that's okay, and that's normal. It's okay to feel angry, sad, overwhelmed, disgusted, frustrated, scared. But we can't let those emotions get the best of us. We just can't. And we can't let them get the best of our kids either. Right? We have to provide them with security, hope, and a way forward. Even when we don't know what it is or how we're going to get there. We will get there. The other side, quote unquote, and I don't want to sow division further than it's already there, but the other side won this time. But I am a believer that the principles that most of us voted for, the Constitution, equality, anti-racism, love, support for our LGBTQ friends and family members and neighbors, decency, goodness. I believe that those are things most of us, even those who didn't vote the way we wanted them to, I think those are things most of us want. And so I want to end with just well, I keep saying I want to end, but I've got a couple more things I want to share. One are just some, a little bit of a reality check, and then I want to end with my personal thoughts. When we get lost in the muck of this, we have to remember that 50% of our country voted for the interests of women, our LGBTQ folks, our BIPOC folks, etc. And that 50% loves democracy and will fight for democracy. And the democracy that's based, real democracy, right? I know there are people on the other side who think democracy is at risk because of unfair elections, but that has been disproven time and time again. But there are real threats to democracy, and 50% of us are prepared and ready to stand up and fight for those. And at least some percentage of those who voted the other way don't hate those groups of people either. I think they voted the way they did simply because they thought their own lives would be better, and we can help our kids understand that. They thought their own lives would be better. We are at our core selfish people, right? We just are. And for many people right now, the state of things feels really bad. Most of us don't feel like that. But if we did, we might feel differently about the outcome of this election. We have to recognize that most people tend to prioritize the issues that matter the most to them in their daily lives. That being said, we have to also remember that decency and women's health care matter, like I said, to the vast majority of Americans, despite the way some voted. And that's why we're actually seeing abortion protections overwhelmingly pass in the states where that's been on the ballot. Those things just weren't the driver for the votes this time around. I think we can reassure ourselves and our kids who share these beliefs that we had a woman running who was eminently qualified, ready for the office, and who ran a strong campaign, and we had some things working against us. And that could cripple us, that could lead us to crawl inside in this week. That's okay. That's okay. But I want to share with you some thoughts that I sent out in my newsletter earlier this week. You may have seen it, you may have read these thoughts already. But they were prompted by a newsletter that I got from Tara Moore, who is the author of the book Playing Big. And that book feels particularly relevant and prominent to me right now. And she asked in her letter, what are you committed to more than ever today? And I answered that question in my newsletter to you. And I want to share my thoughts, what I'm more than ever committed to. And I think it would be so powerful if everyone listening today sat down, got out a piece of paper, and wrote down the things that you are more committed to than ever right now, as a way of reminding yourself that you have power, agency, and you're going to do something about it. That you're going to stand alongside me as we stand up and say, not on my watch. Not on my watch. And so here are the things that I'm committed to, among others. I believe and am committed to the idea that we can build world peace one child at a time. That we are still only one generation away. And I'm more than ever committed to that idea for my family and for yours. I am more committed than ever to the idea that every child deserves to be brain and body safe. And with that, I am more committed than ever to eradicating child sexual abuse and sexual assault, even when our leaders are not, even when our leaders are adjudicated sex offenders themselves. I am more committed than ever to being the best leader that I can be in this space, on the podcast, in my work as a coach, in the Heartful Parent Academy, in the newsletters that I send out, and in my own family, so that my children will learn what real leadership looks like. I am more committed than ever to sharing the message that every child has value. There are no bad children, only children in struggle. I am more committed than ever to promoting equity in our families, in our communities, in our workplaces, and in our world, and in the idea that a woman is capable, competent, and ready to be president of the United States. I am more committed than ever to doing my part to craft a world that my children and yours can thrive in. I'm more committed than ever to seeking joy and to reminding each and every one of us that we have a right to it. And it's there in the small moments and the big ones. And I'm more than ever committed to you and the work that we have to do together. And it's on that note that I'm going to leave you today. I hope with everything that I am that those words were helpful to you if you are grieving right now. I hope that they reassure you you're not alone in this. We're not alone in this. We need to lean on each other. We need to take care of each other. And this is a bump in the road, a big one. But what is right and good and kind and loving in the world will win. It will prevail. Your kids need to hear that right now. You need to hear that right now. And I need to hear that right now. So take that with you. Go forward in the weekend, in the days to come. And then we got to put on our big kid pants, big girl pants, our big boy pants, whatever. And we got to get ready to make it okay. I'll leave you there. Be heartful. Be well. Be kind. Show up for yourself and show up for your kids. I'll see you next week. Cheers.